Welcome back to Grand Tactician. We are over here with a number of different armies, guys, specifically Garnett's force, because we actually just captured a very, very tiny village here, a very tiny town called Grafton, Virginia. Everything else is going pretty well. It looks like the Army of Northeastern Virginia has retreated back to Washington, which is exactly what we wanted. The Army of the Shenandoah is doing just fine here. And I think the next idea is going to be to take one of these other locations, maybe even going all the way to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Can you imagine? And taking that? But we've only got 4,000 here in Garnett's force. So whatever we do, it's got to be quick and fairly decisive. I'm thinking the correct approach is probably to go to Cumberland, so that we further grab this area, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'd love to jump up to Wheeling, Virginia, but I don't think that that's the right approach. So let's get to Cumberland, Maryland. As for the Army of the Potomac, pretty much the only thing I'm doing is remaining here and rebuilding that army. Now, we are, of course, focusing on a specific policy, and the one I chose is King Cotton. I want to get King Cotton out of the way so we don't have to worry about it anymore. After that, we'll probably go for industrialization, but we might go for the Militia Act 2, which increases the amount of militia we can get. Impressment might also be a good idea. This authorizes the War Department to seize slaves and supplies from producers for the building of fortifications. But again, we're not so much focused on the fortifications as we are just getting troops. So if anyone has any recommendations on how to do that, let me know. But I'm pretty sure we're going to have to go down the militia tree after we get done with King Cotton. Well, that being said, let's continue. I'm thinking we could also take the Army of the Shenandoah here and maybe work out, work out some miracles. We could go for Baltimore if we really wanted to. It actually looks like the enemy is taking Frederick back, Frederick, Maryland. So if we want to go and see what they've got going there, we certainly could. Maybe we could put up a fight, although I'm guessing it's one of their larger armies. Nonetheless, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to get right over here. Just push Johnston up to this side of the bridge, and we'll take a look and see exactly what the enemy is doing over there. The same with Garnett. It's going to take some time before these actual orders go through, so let's go ahead and call those orders. All right, let's see. Provisional President officially elected, and there we go, guys, Jefferson Davis. That's right, Jefferson Davis was not immediately the president, but look at that. We are now president for 6 years. Davis and Stevens without opposition, 55 votes needed, 109 secured. Absolutely no chance for anybody to beat us in this election. Although, of course, the enemy retaking our location there in Frederick does not make me happy. That forces us to have to retake that town. Though it wasn't really our town to begin with. So we're going to take a hell of a risk here, take the Army of the Shenandoah, and we're going into Union territory. Come on now, boys. Let's find out what's going on here. Let's see how Garnett's doing. So Garnett is already headed to Cumberland. We have quite a few other armies that we can go ahead and decide to move. The Army of Florida, I believe, was the one that we wanted to move. We were initially going to take Braxton Bragg and hit Pickens Garrison here. But now I think what I'm going to do is bring Braxton Bragg up over here to assist with the defense of the Northeast. We could also have him head to the west. In fact, I'm going to have him go to Charleston, Virginia. There we go, son. It's going to take him a while to get here. In that time, we'll be able to do a lot of other things. And actually, let's fast forward there. Okay, oh boy. Slow movement because of winter. Let's see what we're dealing with here. Army of Occupation, 10,000 can absolutely hit them. We're going to try and attack the enemy at Frederick. Unfortunately, I think they will retake the actual town before we get there, but at least we're on the move. We want to get there quickly and make sure we can face that guy and finish him off. Now, what about our Missouri State Guard units? Yeah, these guys are, well, were starving. I'm hoping they're not now. We've got the town of Lebanon here. Is Lebanon producing any food? I certainly hope so. I'll actually see if I can build a depot. But like I said, I don't think we can build a depot in this territory. It's so wild out here. We've got to get into some more... Well, actually, that works. There we go. We'll build one depot. We've got to get into some more civilized territory, which is going to be pretty much in the east. I'd love to do something with our naval units. I just don't think we really have anything that can stand up to the enemy. Let's take a look here at these squadrons. We've got the New Orleans Squadron, of course, but I believe this is a riverboat squadron exclusively under Rousseau. We could take... Let's see, if they can leave the river, we can certainly use them to attack. The Lake Pontchartrain Squadron. So again, a lot of our squadrons here, it seems to be that their focus is for the rivers, not necessarily the open ocean, which unfortunately, the Union has plenty of ships in the open ocean, which cause these blockades. Nonetheless, I do want to follow up with that New Orleans Squadron. Let's see if it can't get you out here on the open ocean, boys. Nope, you can see there, it's not allowing us to do that. Again, sometimes river ships going out on the open ocean, they will just immediately sink. I mean, a single wave will hit them. And they're not made for that kind of, they're not made for that kind of engagement. Alright, we are getting there, boys. It is taking some time, but of course, every beautiful thing, every good thing takes time. And there we go! The Army of the Shenandoah, I did not expect... Oh, no, never mind. It is the Army of the Occupation under McClellan. This is wonderful, guys. They've got 10,000 men. We've got 15,000, of course, trying to retake the town of Frederick. Well, let's get in there, boys. I don't want to miss this chance. But man, once again, we're not going to micromanage this one. We're simply going to take Johnston's forces. There we go. Pretty straightforward. I hate having to rely on these bridges to move across. We know how frustrating that can be. But nonetheless, let's get started here. We are on the attack. There's no need to really put up any barricades. And I'm going to move right up the Shepherdston Pike. We could also be... You know what, we could be a little more clever about this. Let's get up to Shepherd here. Once we get up to Shepherd here, then I will move across to the Sharpsburg area, because they're likely expecting us, right, to attack from that location. The problem here is this is going to tire our men out quite a bit. I'm not sure I like that. Our men are going to be just quite tired, but nonetheless, I think we should go ahead and get moving. Well, look at that, guys. Our men are chomping at the bit. In fact, it's day 2. We've been walking around all night, weren't able to locate a single damn Federal. But at this point, we're not taking any chances. We're streaming across the river there. Look at that beautiful visual. And trying to get set up across from the Sunken Road. The Sunken Road, I believe, will be the location of the battle. I'm almost certain of that. It's going to be right there. The issue is, with all the time it's taking us to locate this enemy army, they're getting quite a lot of victory points. So we're going to have to be extremely aggressive if we want to get a victory here, and just pretty much throw ourselves into the enemy army. Shall return, my friend, when the fighting begins. Although it does look like most of our army has already made it across the river. Well, we found the Federals, guys. It took us a while, and the bad news, they've got trench works. Holy heck. We've never faced the trench works yet. What I have done is immediately stopped Johnston's orders. Hopefully this will get to the men fairly soon, because of course now we're going to have to redraw. Although you can see this interesting setup that I had, I immediately redrew the cavalry on the right side. Once I realized that the enemy was going to be over here and on the left side. We are going to have to face the enemy. I'm thinking we want to come through this way. There's no way we avoid having to fight them here. There's just no way. Or having to fight them at the trenches, I should say. So let's just get started here. We've got 1st Brigade, quite a few other units. I'm not going to engage them at the trenches yet, but I'm going to try to hit them on the flank, on the trench flank. So let's go ahead. Come on now. Stop that movement. I actually already see the couriers moving. Unfortunately, this is one of those movements that does take a while, and I want to redraw the attack. Even that's not great. Hold on. Something like this. I mean, since they have the trenches, they are likely going to outgun us in just about every situation, so I think the only approach, we set up that line, and then we start micromanaging individual units to hit them in the flank. What we could do, like one thing we could do with 1st Brigade, Jackson's guys, is maybe get into the woods and start opening fire. Cause a little diversion, I guess. But I'm not even sure that's a safe bet, honestly. Actually, I'm happy that that occurred. This forces us to have to redraw the line. And that's pretty nice. That is pretty nice. Really allows us to maneuver quite freely. So let's push into position, and let's think about our assault on the enemy trenches. Those of you that are fairly familiar with the Civil War will know of a Union defeat. If you want to go ahead and put the name of the battle down below, please do. A Union defeat in which they assaulted a Confederate, not a trench line, but a stone wall, and they were cut to ribbons. So I don't want to have the same thing happen here. I don't want this to be the Confederate version of that fight. So once we get into place, we're going to kind of rethink this approach. And again, maybe we'll just wait with these guys. We'll wait a bit until the next day, or just wait and see if they decide to attack us. We've had both things occur, so let's get into position. But I think probably what I'm going to do, first of all, there's no reason we shouldn't be bombarding them with the arty. Let's bombard them with the artillery. And what I'm thinking I need to do is get some skirmishers out there, just get some skirmisher units, and pretty much fire at a distance, try and pick off as many as possible. We've already got Pendleton on the way. Unfortunately, I think this army, Johnston's army, is that possible, only has 2 artillery pieces. Yeah, I believe that's the case. That's pretty pathetic. In the meantime, though, we can start softening them up with this arty. And who knows? Maybe with continuous artillery fire, we can lure them into the fight. I think it's time we go ahead and start detaching skirmishers. Let's do this. Let's do some over here, too. You guys are going to be responsible for going into no man's land and hopefully taking down some Federals. Just going to send 1 unit. Actually, we'll send 2 forward to test the trench. And I'm not sure how effective they're going to be at range. Hopefully, our skirmishers will be able to outshoot them at a distance. But let's kind of see what the enemy's got going here. And unfortunately, moving that artillery through the woods is a hell of a challenge. 24-pound howitzers, guys, under John Pelham. These are very good howitzers. I'm actually going to try to put them out there on the open field. And again, just start softening the enemy up. Hopefully we get first blood here. Right on the road, man. Right on the road. They've got some skirmishers behind as well. So they are just waiting for us to get close. Once those skirmishers start to engage, we will, of course, turn our focus to them. But right now, I just want to see if we can get some lucky shots. I also want to see how effective the trenches are at concealing the enemy. And I bet very effective. They've got that little green bonus in cover. And there we go. Begin opening fire, boys. We do outnumber them. That's another thing we have to consider. So another approach here could just be a good old-fashioned charge. Like, in other words, we get up close and personal with the army, and we just charge in with the men. That's a bit riskier, I think. I mean, if that fails, then that's going to be a major defeat for Johnston. So for now, I'm just going to follow this approach and just kind of try and damage them from a distance. 2 volleys and only 6 casualties. Yep, that is what a trench line will do. You know what? We might as well bring up Kirby Smith's men. Kirby Smith's unit was actually one of the first to fight in this war period. I'm going to do something a little bit different. No. Cancel that. I thought that movement was going to be somewhat simpler. Let's cancel that movement immediately. So another option would be to take Stuart's cavalry, kind of get behind the enemy here, a flanking shot. But with just 400 men, I'm not so sure that's going to be particularly effective. Alright, Kirby, you've done pretty well so far. Let's get you over here, a further flank of the enemy. And in fact, I think we have a detachment here from Elliot B. Jr., my favorite commander of our current army. Let's get some skirmishers from Elliot B. Jr.'s group as well. B. Jr.'s detachment, and we're going to get them over here on the enemy flank. So again, just a bunch of flank attacks on that trench. Not sure if it's worth it until, you know, we actually see the results here. It's good to see that the artillery are arriving, though. Is arriving. Grammar, Agrippa, grammar. Go. Still 21. Again, they're not taking many losses here. So I think once we get guys like Kirby Smith into position, we're going to try to hit the guys out of the trench. Really try to maximize damage there. At some point, we will have these skirmishers rejoin the line, and who knows, maybe, like I said, the correct approach with a trench line is to charge. Get up close and personal and do a true rebel charge. I don't know why Frost is so tired. Looks like the cavalry here on the right side under Frost is quite tired. And this guy's new, new to our army. I hope that's not an issue. I hope he's not just not a really, really bad commander. The bad news is the enemy is starting to return fire now. I don't like that. They're fairly aware of us, and I'm seeing some smoke back here, which I'm fairly certain is going to be artillery. So they're not only bombarding or hitting us with the men on the trench, but they're also going to be hitting us with some arty as well. Again, I'm going to start engaging their skirmisher detachment. I'm still bringing in Elliot B. Jr. skirmisher detachment. And I'm going to try to get them over here in these woods. So just an additional thing for the enemy to deal with. In fact, we might just go ahead and start engaging. Yeah, let's just start firing at Law's detachment. We got a skirmisher up close and personal. They took the bait. I told you they would do this eventually. Unfortunately, they killed quite a few of Kirby Smith's men there. It's only 10 men, but it seems to have affected the morale pretty significantly. Yeah, this is a gunfight if there ever was one. Just a gunfight, man. Come on, Pelham, we need you up here quickly, son. Alright, I'm starting to see that line waver. Look at that. Yeah, they're losing a lot of men. Ideally, we get B Jr. into the woods here. Actually, ideally, we get 2 skirmisher detachments into the woods here and fire into what's clearly a well-concentrated federal group here behind the trenches. If we can get them to leave the trenches, that's when I would move forward with the rest of the army immediately. So maybe if we can cause enough havoc over here, we can get some of them to kind of pull away. At least that's the goal. In fact, I'm going to take Jackson's brigade already. We'll keep B Jr. there, and I'm going to have Jackson's brigade start moving into the woods. Again, harassing the enemy and being aggressive has worked for us so far, so I see no reason to stop now. But I still want the artillery to keep firing at the trenches. Keep that trench fire now, boys. How are you guys doing? They're getting there. They're winded, though. Very high fatigue after moving 24-pound cannons through woods. Just imagine, like, how many times the tire or the axle gets stuck on something. You've got to get all the guys to lift the damn thing. I mean, it must be an absolute nightmare. Here we go, Jackson. Get in there, boy. Get in there. Looking decent. Looking decent. They're not leaving the trench line, and I must say, I wouldn't leave the damn trench line either in this position. The thing is, though, I believe that the... Yeah, look at that. The actual objective point is up here. So maybe we simply bypass the enemy, right? Just bypass them with at least one of these units and go take a look. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take Hardy's men, and I'm just going to have Hardy inspect the area over here. He only has 2 infantry under his command. He's the, I guess you could say, the lowest ranking. Yeah, he's the lowest ranking brigadier general in our army, just commanding 2 guys. So let's see how he does. Unfortunately, Smith's detachment is falling back, and now we've got an enemy skirmisher detachment in between us and our other group of men. I don't like that. I don't like it one bit. What we are going to do from here is open fire on Hill's brigade with Jackson, and it does look like we got the other skirmishers on the run. That's a wonderful sight. Let's try to get B over here in the woods as well. And let's hope that Jackson is getting some really nice shots here on the enemy. I'm not seeing any gun smoke yet. So let's fire here. It looks like Law's detachment actually created a skirmisher brigade. Good move, good move. And we're going to be in contact fairly soon. In fact, now I'm tempted to bring these guys back. Although, let's let them do that. We can always fill the gaps in the lines if we have to. In fact, if we want to be extra cautious, we'll bring Cheatham over here. And we'll also just make Frost an unofficial line infantry for a bit. We can always get him off his horse and, of course, bring him to the fight. But it's looking interesting. I think of all the fights we've had, this is the one I'm most uncertain about. Even though we outnumber the enemy, I'm concerned that their position is going to lead to a victory for them either way. Now, one option we always have is to just retreat. So if the casualties start getting really significant, almost not worth it, then we'll retreat, but that hasn't been the case so far. And besides, Johnston has got to win his glory, just like Beauregard. We need to have at least 2 or 3 really great generals in our army if we want a chance at winning the campaign. Well, this is that unfortunate time in the battle, my friends, where I have to bid you a fair adieu and let you know to go ahead, hit that like button, and comment down below, as you guys have been doing with every single one of the videos for Grand Tactician so far, and I really appreciate that, so please keep it up. I notice every single one of your comments, and I am touched by them. We just, we really need that to continue if we want this channel to grow and get to the size that I think it should be, and that I hope you guys think it should be as well. In any case, folks, we shall return in the fight. It looks like Jackson is doing okay over here in the woods, managing to actually send the enemy skirmishers back up the hill. Let's keep up the fight, and let's see if we can't win our first trench battle in Grand Tactician.